Hello everyone, welcome back to another Spanish lesson with Gringa Spanish. I am Christy, and today we are going to be continuing our discussion on preterite verbs. And today I'm going to be introducing you to irregular preterite verbs. I'm actually re-recording this video because the other one was totally fine, but for some reason when I upload it to YouTube, it just looks super faint and foggy. It looks fine on my phone, I re-uploaded it. If this is foggy, then bear with me while we figure out what's going on moving forward. Additionally, I also bought a lavalier that had good reviews to try and get better audio, but it really just seems like my phone microphone is better. So we're going to stick with this for now. If you guys have any recommendations for either of those things, please let me know in the comments, because I understand that good quality audio and video will help you to concentrate on the material better. So let's get into it. So with irregular preterite verbs, it's a little difficult because with irregular present tense verbs, there are a good number of rules that are pretty standard, and there are some patterns that some preterite verbs follow, but there is also so many nuances. Like, some of the verbs follow this rule, but then in one form it'll be different. So don't be worried if it's a little confusing at first. We're going to go over some of the general patterns that many of them follow, but give yourself some space to learn this, is what I'm saying, and practice it. Repetition is your best friend with a lot of these things, and a lot of these cases in which many verbs can be a little bit different from one another. So let's get into it. So the following three verbs are the big ones that don't really follow any rules. You're just going to have to remember them, but the good news is that they're very, very common. Like I always say, a lot of the irregular verbs end up being the really common ones, so you're just going to learn them by how often you use them and hear them. The two big ones would be ser and ir. Now, ser and ir actually become the same verb in the preterite. Your Spanish-speaking friends have been saying these words all their life, and I'd be super curious to know if you ask them, did you ever notice that they become the same word in the past tense, in the preterite tense, if they realize that that's the case? Because I know I asked my boyfriend, he was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, yo fui estúpida, yo fui a la tienda, and he was like, oh my god, like it blew his mind. So let me know if your friends even noticed that. But yes, ser and ir become the same verb in the past tense, and it means both of those things. So remember, ser means to be, and it's what you would use for permanent attributes. That's the spark notes, but ir means to go. So in the preterite tense you have yo fui, tú fuiste, él fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, ellos fueron. This is really important. Let's do it again. Yo fui, tú fuiste, él fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, ellos fueron. So what I said earlier, this is ser, which means to be, and ir, which means to go. So if I want to use ser, if I want to say I was stupid, like I'm talking about something I did in the past, I used to be stupid, I was stupid, I would say yo fui estúpida. With ir, I would say I went to the store. Yo fui a la tienda. It is both of those verbs. Okay, next we have dar, which means to give. So this is dar in the past tense. I gave. Yo di. Tú diste. Él dio. Nosotros dimos. Vosotros disteis. Ellos dieron. So yo te di algo. I gave you something. Remember that pronoun te tells you I did the verb to you. Yo te di algo. I gave you something. Tú me diste algo. You gave me something. So this is a very useful verb. Ver means to see. Yo vi. Tú viste. Él vio. Nosotros vimos. Vosotros visteis. Ellos vieron. They saw me. Ellos me vieron. I saw you on the bus. Yo te vi en el autobús. Okay? Alright, so let's just read over what the patterns are, and then we'll go over examples from each pattern. So, E to I changes. E to I changes often occur in the stem of the verb, in the el and ellos forms only. Some verbs that follow this rule are sentir, pedir, despedirse, divertirse, repetir, servir, vestirse, reír, and sonreír. So when you're conjugating these verbs, you're going to follow the regular rules, but remember for the el and ellos forms, which is the third person and then the them form, also ustedes, and also usted here, this E is going to become an I, just for the el and ellos forms. O to U changes. The O to U change will also occur in the stem of some verbs in the el and ellos forms only. This includes dormir, which means to sleep, and morir, which means to die. Verbs ending in ducir, as well as the verbs decir and traer, will have the final C changed to a J, although traer doesn't have a C, and it will get a J added. And the ellos form uses heron at the end, in place of whatever it normally would be for IR verbs would be. You would expect it to be ieron at the end, but it's just eron at the end. Verbs that end in a non-silent vowel take a Y in the el and ellos forms. Okay, so let's go over these rules again and actually conjugate some verbs from each category. So E to I stem changes that occur in el and ellos. So we have sentir here. Yo sentí, tú sentiste, él sintió. Okay? The E changed to an I. Nosotros sentimos, vosotros sentisteis, ellos sintieron. That E changed to an I. Pedir. Pedir means to ask. Sentir means to feel, by the way. Pedir means to ask. Yo pedí. Tú pediste. Él pidió. Nosotros pedimos. Vosotros pedisteis. Ellos pidieron. Repetir. That means to repeat. Yo repetí. Tú repetiste. Él repitió. Nosotros repetimos. Vosotros repetisteis. Ellos repitieron. Yo repetí algo. I had to say it again. A veces yo repetí los verbos para que ustedes aprendan. Sometimes I repeated verbs so that you guys will learn better. So that is a useful verb. Pedir, to ask. Yo te pedí algo. I asked you to do something. I asked something from you, and you did it or didn't do it. Okay, so these two verbs are the big ones that follow the O to U stem change in the el and ellos forms for the preterite tense. So dormir means to sleep. In the preterite it becomes yo dormí, tú dormiste, él durmió. That O became a U. Nosotros dormimos, vosotros dormisteis, ellos durmieron. Morir means to die. And really similar to in English, this doesn't always mean literally to die. You can say like, oh, I was dying when this happened. You can say that in Spanish too. So most of the time you're probably not going to be using morir in a literal sense. Like in songs, they'll use it a lot to say like I was suffering, like I was dying without you, type of thing. So morir. Yo morí. Tú moriste. Él murió. Nosotros morimos, vosotros moristeis, ellos murieron. Okay, here's the decir, traer. So these are going to get a J before the endings. Some verbs that end in decir include conducir, which means to drive. Producir means to produce, just like a movie. And then decir and traer follow the same endings, and they are super, super useful verbs. So we're going to conjugate them here. And they have the same endings. Producir. Any verb, by the way, I'm sorry, I know I'm horrible. Any verb that ends in decir is going to follow this. I have seen some resources say that not all of them do, but every one that I have researched does follow this rule. Maybe it's different from region to region, but I think you're safe if you just follow this rule for any verb that ends in decir. Okay, let's move on. Producir. Yo produje. Tú produjiste. Él produjo. Nosotros produjimos. Vosotros produjisteis. Ellos produjeron. Decir. This is such a useful verb. So this is the preterite tense of decir. Decir means to say. Yo dije, tú dijiste, él dijo, nosotros dijimos, vosotros dijisteis, ellos dijeron. So yo te dije algo, I told you something. Tú me dijiste algo, you told me something. Él me dijo que, he told me that. Decir, you're gonna use this all the time, so let's read through that one more time. Yo dije, tú dijiste, él dijo, nosotros dijimos, vosotros dijisteis, ellos dijeron. Me dijeron que, they told me that I can't do this. Me dijeron que, okay, that's enough of that. Traer means to bring. Yo traje, tú trajiste, él trajo, nosotros trajimos, vosotros trajisteis, ellos trajeron. Did your family bring an appetizer for the party? Sí, trajimos whatever. Yes, we brought this. Okay, and this is the last one. Verbs that end in vowels. So verbs, what I mean by ending in a vowel is that before the ending, right? You have ER, AR, IR endings. If the last letter before that ending is a vowel, oftentimes, not all the time, you will get a Y added in the L and Aos forms. So let's look at some of those examples. Caer means to fall. Yo caí. Tú caíste. Él cayó. See, that Y, the pronunciation is the same, but when you write it, you need to know that there's a Y there. Nosotros caímos. Vosotros caísteis. Ellos cayeron. Leer, that means to read. Yo leí. Tú leíste. Él leyó. Nosotros leímos. Vosotros leísteis. Ellos leyeron. Creer means to believe. This is a pretty useful one. Or to think or to believe. Yo creí. Tú creíste. Él creyó. Nosotros creímos. Vosotros creísteis. Ellos creyeron. Okay, so creer, like I said, it means to think or believe. So you can say, yo te creí, I believed you. Tú me creíste, you believed me. Le creyó cuando me dijo, see, there's decir again. I believed him when he said. Yo le creo cuando me dijo. I believed him when he said to me. Also a pretty useful phrase that involves the word creer is to creerse. When you turn creer into a reflexive verb, it means to fool yourself. So if I say me creí, that means I was kidding myself. So somebody might say like, you're making a fool of yourself, you're kidding yourself. You can use creerse for that. So that's all we're going over for today. So there's a couple big verbs that we didn't talk about here, like poder and tener. So I'm going to have to do another video, but I don't really want to make all of these really long and overwhelming, and those ones don't really follow any particular rules. So I will make another video about just common irregular verbs in the preterite tense. Like I said, it's a little hard because a lot of them don't really follow any specific rules. But now you know what some of the rules are. If you have a test coming up, this should help you. And it should also just continue to help you practice with verbs. Unfortunately, a lot of verbs in the preterite tense are irregular. If this helped you guys, please like, please subscribe, comment below if you have any questions or any requests for any materials that you would like me to cover. I can tell that you guys don't like the grammar videos, but the thing is, they're so important. If you want to learn Spanish, you need to know the grammar. It's better to learn the grammar and have it in your head than to try and figure it out for yourself. Even if you don't memorize everything 100%. And I'm not saying you need to, but at least if you know what the rules are, you're not just confused all the time. Alright guys, I hope you have a great day. I know some of you have probably heard that speech multiple times, so I'm sorry, but I'll see you guys next time.